Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomat YouTube channel. You got your boys here, Lanny and Bert, the Dividend Diplomats. Today we're bringing back the 5 Vanguard funds. This isn't the Vanguard trifecta, you betcha. This is the Vanguard 5 fund frenzy here. We're going to talk to you about all of their dividend increases for Q4. And let me tell you, I'm sure Mr. Lanny over here is pretty freaking excited about the news from VYM.
You got that right, Bert. Guys, smash that subscribe button. Give us a nice thumbs up as we cover 5 of the most well-known Vanguard ETFs. We're going to cover on today's video the Q4 distribution / dividend that the 5 big Vanguard ETFs have announced and sent out to you shareholders. We're going to compare it to last year's linked quarter, so Q4 23 versus Q4 22. Then we're going to kind of cover the whole year of 23 versus 2022. What was the dividend growth like? We'll look at the 5-year, 3-year growth rates on average. We'll look at the price current yield and overall that dividend compound factor, guys. So sit tight. Let's get in. Let's go.
Let's do it. And let's just jump right in here. Let's talk about that first one. Lanny, we need to get your thoughts here. Talk to us quickly about Vanguard's high dividend fund, VYM's dividend stats this December.
Vanguard's VYM high dividend yield ETF, bringing on SCHD shareholders. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Bring on the love here because it's all about dividend investing. So whatever ETF is performing better, higher dividend, lower dividend, we're saving, we're investing, guys. But VYM Q4 came out with $1.09.95. So almost $1.10 for this quarter, Bert. And man, they literally went up to the plate. They went Otani style and said, sign me that contract because we're increasing our dividend 12.83% versus last year's linked quarter, which led to an overall year-over-year dividend growth rate of just under 7%, Bert.
Beautiful. That is freaking beautiful. And I know you said this is a Vanguard video and you mentioned SCHD, but it's important to compare them to their dividend community brother here. SCHD had a linked Q4 dividend increase of only 5.53%, and they only had a year-to-date increase of 3.77%. So that is a huge increase for VYM. They just blew them out of the water. I mean, they just, stone cold stunned them, tombstone them, and then they picked them up, pedigreed them, and just said, anything else? You want some more?
We'll have to see what 2024 brings, guys. So let us know if you love that Vanguard VYM dividend. You know I did because my wife and I, not only did we cross 1,000 shares, but we're well over 1,200 shares, baby. We're the cream rises to the top, baby, Macho Man style.
Yeah, I mean, we can do some simple math there. If you have over 1,200 shares, that Q4 dividend was 1.10. This wasn't a small dividend for Lanny and his wife this quarter.
Yeah, you know, we got the slot machine in the house with the VYM. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of time, guys. 3.5 years of buying the ETF.
That's why you consistently do it. Let's move ahead to VOO, another part of Lanny's trifecta, you betcha. I also have a huge chunk in there from when I rolled over a 401k. The fund I had wasn't available, so I dropped a huge chunk of it into VOO as well. So obviously, like Lanny, I was pretty freaking excited here to see what VOO had in store. They announced for Q4 a $1.80 and change dividend. That was an increase compared to Q4 2022, that linked quarter of 7.74% year over year. Fiscal year 2023 to 2022, they increased their dividend 6.90%. So a very solid quarter and year for VOO. They delivered.
Very consistent. You got to love that. Pairs up well with that 1.5% dividend yield, leading to an overall dividend compound factor of just over 8%. And obviously with VOO, you've benefited from about 24+% year-to-date stock price appreciation.
That always helps here. So let's move around here. I'll take this one again, Lanny, just because I know you've been buying it every day, but I've just been recently buying it every single week. So if you don't mind, I would love to do the honors here. we're talking VIG, Vanguard Dividend Appreciation Fund, because you know why? We appreciate dividends here on this channel. You know what? Like this channel, subscribe to it if you also appreciate dividends, because that's what it's all about. All right, so what did VIG do? They announced a dividend that was a hair over 91 cents. It was about 91.5 cents. That was a 5.4% increase compared to last Q4 as well. So over the linked quarter, a nice solid 5.4% increase. Year over year, they increased that dividend at 7.93%. So very solid. That pairs well with that 1.89% yield. So when you give it a factor, you add in the yield plus the year over year, or the annual dividend increase to 2023-22, that gives you 9.82%, right around 10%.
Huge. And with VIG, you got about 12% so far year to date, a price appreciation as well. So yeah, I'm pumped that you're starting to buy VIG, given the benefit of both the appreciation and hopefully long-term dividend growth effect. But Bert, it's time for that fourth Vanguard ETF. It's time to slide home. But don't worry, we've got 5. So we are hitting the 4th spot right here. I've owned this ETF in my Roth IRA
forever.
Over probably close to that 13, 15 year. I've owned it since the beginning of, like, not to say the beginning of time, but over 10 plus years for sure. The European International ETF from Vanguard, VGK. And one thing Bert and I, we were talking about before we started hitting the record button here, was that VGK has been a little bit more consistent, a little bit more easy to kind of predict what the dividend may be. International players coming out of some of the, economic tough times, about 5 to 7 years ago, really starting to smooth out kind of what the yield and dividend growth looks like. Well, they did a 45.71 cent fourth quarter dividend, which was higher than last year's linked quarter by almost 15%, Bert. But the funniest part is you would think, okay, that maybe was just like a blip in the radar because all the other quarters were probably low. But no. What was that year over year growth rate for VGK?
It was beautiful, Lanny. That year over year growth rate was 12.60% for VGK. So not only did they deliver on that Q4 linked quarter, they delivered on that annual growth too. It wasn't a catch up. They're just dominating right now. That's the beautiful thing about VGK.
Yeah, and what's cool is they're up 14% year to date, but the current dividend yield based on that trailing 12-month dividend is actually still over 3.17%. So somehow, based on this past year performance, the dividend compound factor is over 15% at 15.76% for VGK.
That's beautiful. And I know I'm not as familiar with the holdings of VGK, so I was just pulling it up here. They have over 1,300 holdings. Some of their large ones include Novo Nordisk, Nestle, ASML, Shell, Novartis, AstraZeneca. I have no idea how to pronounce that next one. Roche Holding, SAP, Total. Those are their top 10. You know what? That's a pretty solid group of international holdings there. See why you like them, and I see why you bought them so long ago, Lanny.
I'm still holding and pretty much have just been dripping those dividends along the way, watching that position grow. It's been a fun thing to see because, again, that kind of sits at the top of my Roth IRA stock tickers just because of how long I've actually held that gosh darn ETF, Bert.
Love it. So the last one, let's just round this out here. Let's head back to the S&P 500 type funds. We have VTI. Now, I know I don't own VTI. Lanny, I can't remember. You don't own them either, right?
Not. Well, maybe through the Rest in Peace bumped program.
The bump program. That's right. But a lot of people, when we talk about VOO and we talk about other ones, they bring up VTI as well. So it's a very, very relevant Rest in Peace bump. Do you know what? Wait, pause. If you used to have bumps like we did, put that down there in the comment section. Well, I miss that app. That was such a great idea. The credit card rewards into stock. That was a great one. Okay. So VTI, what did they do? Link quarter over link quarter, they grew 7.65% because they announced that dollar Q4 dividend. Year over year growth was 7.21%, pretty consistent. Maybe we'd start calling them old reliable here from the Vanguard fund. Their yield is very much in line with VOO. It's 1.44%. When you take that 1.44% with that 2023 growth of 7.21%, that's a dividend factor of 8.65%.
And the ETF is also up just over 24% this year, guys. So there you have it. All five big winner Vanguard ETFs. I've got the Vanguard ETF hat on right now, guys. Looks very nice, rocking the Vanguard hat. But I know you have one back at home. But Bert, just to round it out, I'll do the first two, and you can knock out the last three. VYM had a 12.83% growth rate this quarter, 7% year to date. VOO, 7.74%, 6.9% year to date. And how about the other three ETFs,
Yeah,
Bert?
VIG had a Q4 growth of 5.4% with a year-over-year growth of 7.93. VGK had a 14.88%. I almost shortchanged them there. It's almost 15%. Q4 growth for VGK, that was 12.6% year-over-year, with a 7.65% growth for the last one, VTI, and a year-over-year growth of 7.21%. It was a great quarter for Vanguard funds. They delivered very well across these big five.
Yep. How many do you guys own of the Vanguard ETFs? Are you guys Vanguarding? Let us know in the comments below. I've got 4 out of 5 with some substantial positions. Obviously, the first four discussed here. Bert, how many do you have right now?
VIM, VOO, VIG, 3 of the 5. So I have the trifecta, you betcha, now that I started buying
Yeah.
VIG.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Pumped up, guys. Let us know how your guys' holidays went. Are you guys still dividend shopping out there before the end of the year? Let us know in those comments below.
If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. And you know what? Now that the holidays are over, we're bringing it back. If you're not with us, you are against us, Jack.
That was Bert, the Hurt, and Lanny from the DD over and out.